Here we have verse 25 of the 5th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus, in a conversation, as John tells the story with the religious leaders, keeps pushing them further and further, making more extraordinary claims concerning himself. He's just said that unless a person honors the Son just as they honor the Father, they don't have the Father or the Son. And that, of course, is the distinct claim of the New Testament, that if a person doesn't have the Son, he doesn't have the Father. He may claim to worship God, but he doesn't worship God unless he has the Son as well. Then Jesus pushes the point even farther that the Son has the authority to give life. He gives life to those whom he wishes. And now we come to verse 25, which adds the further fuel to this conversation. Amen, amen. We saw that in the previous verse, the formula that is usually translated certainly or verily, truly, most assuredly. The repetition of amen, of course, adding the highest degree of weight to what is about to follow. Lego, I say, first person singular, present active indicative, humen, to you, second person pronoun, dative plural. Hoti, this is a conjunction. It can mean either because or that. Here, of course, it means that. I say to you that. Erketai is from erkomai, I come. It can also mean I go. In this case, of course, it means come. This is the third person singular, present active indicative. So it is coming, namely hora. The word from which we get the word hour means hour. In this case, the H sound is pronounced. So an hour is coming, kai nun, and now adverb, indeclinable, and now estin, and now it is. So an hour is coming, and yet it also now is. Hote, when, adverb. Hoi necroi, the dead. We've seen this before. Necrotic is an English word that derives from this. This is the masculine singular nominative when the dead. Akususen. This is the third person plural, future active indicative of akuo, I hear. They will hear. So an hour is coming when the dead will hear. Tes, phones, the feminine noun, phone, from which we get words like phone, telephone, etc., means voice. This is the genitive. Akuo takes the genitive at times, in fact, usually does. So they will hear tes phones, the voice, tu huiu, tu theu, the voice of the Son of God. And of course, insofar as Jesus is speaking of himself, this is adding even greater weight to what he's saying. The dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, kai, hoi, akusantes. This is the participle. It's the masculine, plural, nominative. The having heard ones, aorist participle, the having heard ones, again, future, zesusen, will live. Been a conversation, of course, in connection with this verse. Is Jesus speaking of the last resurrection, the final resurrection, which has to do with the resurrection of the body? It can be argued in that direction, although the general tenor of the verse seems to militate otherwise, because Jesus says the hour now is when the dead will hear, and so that would suggest that it's a present situation. They're going to hear the voice of the Son of God, and having heard, will live. The use of the word zesusen, live, here again suggests something more than physical resurrection, and I think the better view of it, and certainly the view that's been taken by many commentators, is that what Jesus is referring to here is really what otherwise we might refer to as regeneration. The voice of the Son of God will be heard by those who are dead, and those who are dead, having heard it, will be raised to life. They'll be raised to life in the inner sanctum of their heart. A heart of stone will be replaced with a heart of flesh. And this regeneration, this new birth, which has been thematic in John up to this point, is now placed squarely into the province of the Son of God. He will speak, and hearing his voice, those who hear it will experience this resurrection.